house group.
What's up, guys? So today I wanted to finally sit down and take some time to show you my primary training pistol and discuss a couple things that I've done to it to make it what I feel is the ultimate handgun. Anyway, what you're looking at here is the Smith Wesson M&P 40. The M&P has gained tons of popularity in the last, I forget, I think it came out in 2005. So in the last 8 years, it's really stepped up into the spotlight as one of the main choices for polymer handguns. There's many things about M&Ps that make them awesome. I'll just go into some of the things that I totally dig about it. First of all, the ergos. When it comes to the ergonomics on this gun, I'll be hard pressed to find one that feels better than this one does in your hand. Not only is the grip in general very comfortable, but the M&P comes with interchangeable back straps. This one I bought separately, but it comes with 3 different back straps. You get a small, a medium, and a large, which both talks about how much they stick out this way and how much they stick out width-wise here. This is the medium that you're looking at now, and I bought it in the flat dark earth to kind of, set this gun apart from, other people's. Anyway, by changing these out, you can quickly, make the gun comfortable for anybody from, your child who might need the small grip all the way up to somebody with really large hands who might need something a lot bigger. And the speed with which you can change it is the another cool factor. You just pull the takedown tool out and the grip comes right off. So it's really a quick, a quick process. And so it makes it super adaptable to a lot of different types of people and situations. Anyway, being that I live in California, mine happens to be the one with the mag disconnect. So this gun actually will not fire without a mag in the mag well. Unfortunately, that's kind of a sketchy situation, in case you ever were to accidentally hit the mag release in a clinch situation, you wouldn't be able to fire the round that's in the chamber. That kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I live here and I have to deal with it. So anyway, another awesome thing about M&Ps is the space inside the trigger guard. Other guns tend to be slightly more narrow up this way, but M&Ps give you plenty of room to get your finger in here. As you can see, I have a glove on and still, no problem, plenty of room to get my finger in here. Another awesome thing about M&Ps is the bore over grip axis ratio is awesome. The bore on this gun is very low set compared to how high you can get back here on the dovetail. I mean, not dovetail, but the beaver tail here. So you can get a very high grip, which can mitigate a lot of the muzzle flip. That is an awesome feature. Another great one. You've got these very substantial grippy serrations on the slide, which make manipulating the slide extremely easy. Even if you have sweaty hands, whatever, these things, these fish scale type serrations really grip. When I first saw them, I actually didn't really like the look of them. I thought they were a little hokey and I preferred the straight serrations. But after using these for a while, I really know why they went with this curved pattern. It really does grip tight on the fingers. So you really are able to get a good purchase when racking the slide. The sights on this are standard Novak, and these are steel both in the rear and in the front. So very nice sights. They're 3-dot sights. I think you can get a sight picture just like that. Very, very nice sights. I really like these. They kind of did some cross hatching on the back here to make it a little darker so you can pick up the rear dots, you know, really well, as you can see. Just awesome. And then you've got ambidextrous slide lock on both sides, which is nice. This is the takedown lever, and I'll show you that in just a second. But first I want to discuss the one thing that I feel is the downfall of the M&P. That is the trigger. The triggers on these guns stock, while they've gotten a lot better since the original versions in the 2005s and 6, they were really horrid from what I understand. But even now, I noticed the stock trigger on this was very gritty. It had a gritty feel on the pull. It had a lot of uptake, and the reset on these is what I would say pretty much absolutely absurd. It has like a double click feeling. The first one is like a ghost reset. It's not actually even the real reset. And then the second one is almost impossible to feel or hear. So it makes it very difficult, to shoot properly when you can't even hear or feel the reset in the trigger. So that's something that just, I realized had to go. So my solution to this was to install the Apex forward set sear and trigger kit. As you can see, this is not the stock trigger. While I would not recommend installing something like this on a home defense handgun, on a training pistol or competition pistol or combat pistol, this thing is absolutely fantastic. It has completely changed the game when it comes to this gun and the way I use it and the way I shoot with it. It is fantastic. Not only has it eliminated almost all of the uptake, it has lightened the trigger pull down to about 4.5 pounds. It has basically eliminated almost all of the over travel, and the pull on the trigger is absolutely butter smooth. So just a absolutely wonderful upgrade. And then I did a couple things while I was installing the trigger that I will also show you. So basically, give me a quick second. I'm going to get ready to strip this down so I can show you the parts the trigger kit comes with, and then also show you the couple extra little tweaks that I made to the setup to make it just that much better. So give me 1 second. So when you're taking this gun down, it's real easy. Basically, there's two ways you can do it. You can either pull this little tool every single time. I'll show you what needs to be done. First of all, you put the slide back, you put this lever down, inside there is a little yellow bar. Now you can't see it on this California version without the mag out, but it's that second little bar over to this side over here. So anyway, two ways you can do it. You can either take the tool out and then push that bar up. You can stick your finger in there, or to push it up, which is difficult. Or you can just put the magazine in the gun if you have the California version or a version with a mag release. Let the slide go forward. Pull the trigger while you hold the slide. Drop the magazine. And then pull the slide right off the front. So we'll set the frame down and show you first on the slide. The one part of the forward set sear kit, let me try to get this to focus for you. One part is the striker blocker right here. On the standard M&P, it's kind of a squared off unit, and the Apex setup comes with a new spring and a new plunger. And this plunger, it's kind of hard to see it with this camera, but this plunger is more rounded. So it makes contact with the trigger bar a lot smoother. So anyway, that's the first thing that comes with it. When you're putting that in, just as a side note, you'll need to remove the rear sight. There's like a little cover that goes over the spring and the plunger inside there. I will say, these do come off pretty easy. Don't be timid to approach this job because you're scared you're going to need a tool to drift these sights. The Apex forward set Sear kit comes with a little Talon sight tool. It's designed to hold everything in place while you slide the sight or tap the sight back in. But what I did was, since it was polymer, I just held it up against the rear sight and used it as a little tap tool, and I tapped the back of it and the sight drifted right out. So for the most part, you know, I've heard a couple people say they were difficult to get out, but for the most part, most people say these are fairly easy. I found it to be fairly easy. So don't let that scare you from getting the Apex kit and installing it. You know, like I said, it's an absolute game changer when it comes to this gun. So anyway, that's the slide modification. On the frame, there's a couple things that are changed in the frame here. First of all, of course, as you can see, you've got this nice anodized trigger. That is a full replacement part. It's still, it uses, instead of the hinge trigger style on the stock trigger, this one uses a Glock type or XD type trigger safety on the pad. Much better. This trigger has an awesome feel. It's flat like a 1911. Very nice trigger feel. Anyway, that is replaced. Inside here, the trigger spring, the trigger return spring is also replaced. That comes in the kit. You do have to take your stock trigger bar, this unit here, off of the factory trigger and install it onto the Apex trigger before you put that whole unit back in. So that's one thing as part of the setup. And then in the back here, it comes with a new spring that goes under the plunger and a new Sear to replace the factory Sear right there. So that's about what the kit includes, and that's what you change. Now, to discuss the extras that I did just real quick here, I will just show you if I can. It's kind of difficult to get this to focus in, but the two things that I did to make it just a little bit extra good was I took a small, very, very fine piece of sandpaper on this front edge right here. I wish I had something to point to it, but there's this little angled edge right here. This is the part of the trigger bar that that activates the striker blocker in the slide. And from the factory, these have little micro ridges, as if like a laser had cut the metal and left a little micro ridges on it. So I took a very fine sandpaper and sanded all those ridges off. Now, I didn't take any extra material off. I just took the ridges off until that little ledge was very nice and smooth. And then I took a polishing compound and polished it to a, mirror finish. You can't tell right now, and you can't really tell with this camera angle, but I really polished that up. And then the other place where I polished was right there, the loop. This trigger bar has a little loop on the end, and that loop is what engages the Sear. If I pull this up, you can see the loop. Let's let it focus here. Come on. That little loop, see, when I put this up, the loop goes under the Sear, and then when I pull the trigger, it's manipulating the Sear. The front edge or the angled edge of that loop, I also took my time and polished up to a mirror finish. You can't see right now, there's a little bit of like stuff on it from just the rubbing and from me shooting this gun a couple times, but when I totally clean it off, it is a mirror finish on that loop. That was another thing that I wanted it as smooth as possible, so that when it engaged the sear, you would not feel any kind of grit or grime. It would be very smooth. So the two contact points here and on the loop on the trigger bar, I polished up to a very shiny finish, and that really improved an already improved trigger pull to get rid of all the grit and grime. So now let me put this all back together. As far as putting it together, super simple. Take the slide, put it right back over the top of the frame, drive it back, flip this switch up if it doesn't flip up automatically. Put the magazine in if you're in, if you have the magazine disconnect, and then let the slide ride forward. Now, in terms of the improved trigger pull, I'll try to give you a very good view. When you engage the trigger, and as you can see, the gun was empty. When you engage the trigger, you press the safety. This is the amount of take up. You can see by using a reference of this little, the textured part of the frame and this line right here against the edge of the trigger, so you can see how much that is the amount of take up. So you can see that line is aligned with the back of the trigger. About halfway down the trigger thickness is the take up. That is it. After that, you have a very smooth trigger pull. As you can see, it's going back, 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 and then that is all the over travel you have. Now, when you for the reset, that's it. You could both hear it and feel it. That's it. There you go. Bam. So that's it, guys. That's a look at my favorite pistol, Smith Wesson M&P 40. One more thing to mention about the 40 cal version of this pistol versus the other versions. Basically, 40 caliber is a Smith & Wesson designed caliber. This gun was actually designed around the 40 caliber, and one thing that the 40 caliber version can do that the 9mm cannot is, with the 40 caliber version, it will actually accept a factory 9mm barrel or a factory 357 SIG barrel, and change the magazine out to whatever caliber barrel you're using, and you can use this gun to fire all three calibers. Now, Smith & Wesson, if you call them, won't admit that directly due to, safety reasons and, liability issues. And, of course, I'm not the be-all, end-all on handguns. If you decide you want to try this, of course, you're doing it at your own risk. But there's plenty of videos on YouTube showing people using 9mm barrels and magazines in the 40 cal frame with absolutely no issues for hundreds and hundreds of rounds. So, you make the decision, but as far as me, I know it'll work. Anyway, so buying the 40 cal version gives you the ability to buy a $70 barrel and a $25 magazine and have another caliber available to you using the same gun. You train with one gun, you get used to it, but you can practice with all different calibers. Or if you can't find calibers in an ammo shortage like, the one we've recently been experiencing, you have the option to, adapt the gun to whatever conditions you might be living in at the time. So anyway, that's just a side note. Bottom line, M&P in any caliber is an absolutely awesome handgun, and with the Apex forward set Sear and trigger kit, this thing becomes ultra dynamite. So that's about it. I wanted to give you guys a good look at my primary trainer and have a little discussion about the upgrades I made to make it, just that much better. If you have any questions or comments, of course, feel free to leave them below. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed the information, and if you're not subbed, definitely hit the sub button. I always, I try to take pride in making very informative videos, and I really enjoy doing it, so it ain't gonna stop anytime soon. So sub up and keep your eyes out for more stuff in the near future. I hope you guys are having a great weekend, and we'll talk again soon. Till next time, take it easy.